Hello, hello! Welcome to VGC content on Pokemon Champions. Admittedly, the game, when I recorded this, hasn't been out for 24 hours yet. In fact, I get kicked out after my first fight because the day changed over for the first 24 hours. So I'm still going up against lower ranked opponents as a lower ranked opponent myself, but I've gotten a 4-win streak on the ladder already, bumped up to Great Ball tier pretty quick, and I intend to carry on further on stream later today. Watch for my notification. But enough glazing, let's get onto the team. Team ID is on screen if you'd like to play it yourself. Centered around Meganium, my favorite Pokemon in design, and it usually isn't very good in VGC formats, but I wanted to make it good here. It's timid, max speed, and max special attack. Mega Meganium has the ability Mega Soul, which grants harsh sunlight effect to all Meganium's moves. Synthesis will always restore 2/3 HP, and Solar Beam always strikes in one turn. Dazzling Gleam for spread stab damage, and Protect for safety. I'm weak to fire, so I opted to build a Rain-Ganium team. Drizzle Pelipper sets up the rain, with Stab Hurricane that never misses in rain, and Weather Ball for 100 base power water damage boosted by Stab and Rain. Tailwind for speed control, Wide Guard because Snarl is still annoying if I resist it. I'm also severely weak to poison, with 2 grass fairy types, so I also opted for double Steel Dragon. I didn't want another quad of weakness, otherwise I would have used Keen Gambit, but I opted for Hisui and Goodra instead, and do not regret it. Archaludon because it's a rain team, Quick Claw because neither Power Herb nor AV is available at the time of recording this, maybe in future. Goodra has Shelter to boost defenses, Body Press for fighting damage against other Archaludons, Stamina is annoying, Flash Cannon and Draco for stab coverage. Whimsicott does Whim things, with Mental Herb for taunt and encore whims. Instant does instant things, completes the fire, water, grass core. Will-O-Wisp because Flare Blitz's counter synergy on a rain team. Darkest Lariat because instant lost access to knockoff for some reason in this game. It was even a default move and the game told me to change it anyway. It's bittersweet, but Fake Out, Parting Shot are still useful with Intimidate spam, and Darkest Lariat is still 85 base power stab damage that ignores stat changes, so I guess I'm not complaining. Again, if you'd like to try out the team for yourself, the ID is on screen, and enough of this, let's get on to the fights. Battle against Dugwin. I look forward to it. And of course he has a Charizard. Okay. So that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. It's a fire type, so I can't really do too much with either grass or fairy type. Damage. There's also a steel type on the team with Steelix. That kind of sucks. And a poison type with Gengar. If Grandpa has Cloud9, I actually can still use Mega Soul's effects on Synthesis and Solar Beam, so I don't have to worry about that too much. At first I wanted to lead Pelipper Archaludon just because I felt like having Rain up and having Electro Shot right off the bat would be kind of nice, but I also felt like that was too obvious and they could just switch in Steelix to whatever they want to and get some free switch-ins and probably some free damage in the meantime. And this is also the Meganium video, so I have to have Meganium to lead. I feel like Fake Out is going to be the best option for that, and I still want to have Archaludon in the back because I feel like it can do a lot of damage to a lot of his team here. And Pelipper because if I'm going with Archaludon, I feel like having Pelipper is kind of necessary for Electro Shot, so it just has to come along. Not complaining though, Pelipper still does some pretty decent damage. And it looks like my opponent is on a 3-win streak. It's kind of hard to see the text, to be fair. I'm also recording this post-commentary if it's not obvious. I actually streamed this game a little bit earlier, and I had a few issues with my microphone before I started streaming, and now my microphone isn't working with OBS right now, so this is all done through Audacity, which is fine because I have a little bit better voice through that anyway. Pretty decent lead with Charizard and Azumarill. I don't think they know exactly about Mega Soul exactly, so I feel like this is pretty free. Fake Out on the Charizard to make sure I don't take any fire damage I don't want. And I don't really think there's too much that Azumarill can really do to an Ensign. Fake Out goes through, does about 15%. Aqua Jet I actually wasn't expecting, but sure. You can do a little bit of chunk, why not? Charizard flinches, so it does go before Meganium, unfortunately, which is pretty obvious. I'm only base 80 speed. And Solar Beam just takes out Azumarill. Now, I'm not exactly paying too much attention, to be fair, when I'm playing through this. They do send in Drampa. I don't pay attention and don't notice that Cloud 9 doesn't proc, so I actually just think that it still has Cloud 9. I actually don't know off the top of my head while I'm recording this what its other ability is, so I just tried to go for damage. If you don't know, it has Berserk. Just going for damage isn't always the best move. But I do want to protect Meganium because I feel like fire damage is coming my way. Not to mention getting a parting shot on Charizard is going to be kind of nice. Oh, I targeted Drampa? Okay. Oh, that's actually pretty good too, because I think it has like base, what, 125 special attack, so it's also pretty good to nerf that as much as I can. But Charizard did go for Flare Blitz there, and I did get an Intimidate off, so if it's a physical attacking Charizard, I already have -1 on that, and I have now a -1 on the Drampa, so I am mitigating damage quite significantly here. And I feel like if I was to go for a Draco Meteor on Charizard, I should be able to just take that out. I could probably live a Flare Blitz, because it will outspeed both my Pokemon. And sure enough, I can take a Flare Blitz. A little bit of Recoil Chip, and Draco Meteor misses because that's what it does. And Dazzling Gleam also doesn't do as much damage as I was hoping to Drampa. And like I said, Berserk is a thing. I didn't realize that was a thing. And now I'm sad. It goes for Flamethrower, takes out Meganium, sadly. But I just get some pretty decent chip onto all of his team. I mean, one Pokemon took out, what, about 60% of his max team health, so I'm not complaining with that damage. Going for another Intimidate. Trying to really mitigate this Charizard as much as I can. More than anything, I want to take out this Drampa because for some reason I still think that it has Cloud 9 and I don't know why. But it is okay to just take out Drampa here. Charizard doesn't really do anything at -2. It just keeps wanting to go for Flare Blitz. Maybe it has like a Rock Tomb or Wing Attack or something. I'm not concerned. They withdraw anyway. Doesn't matter, I am just trying to get rid of this Drampa. Because, again, I thought I had Cloud 9, so I didn't switch in Pelipper at any time. Because I felt like it wasn't going to do anything. Flash Cannon does take out the Drampa, though. So now all that's left is Whimsicott and Charizard. Neither one of them are really too much of a threat, but Charizard did get all of its stats reset, so that's something to be concerned about. However, it can't do too much to our Chaladon right now because I have Stamina or Sturdy still. I'm also expecting Whimsicott to go for Tailwind, so I feel like it's just free to go for Electroshot and switch into Pelipper, and then Whim just doesn't do anything. The thing is, Whimsicott doesn't always have to go for Tailwind. And our Chaladon doesn't have any special defense. I don't know if my opponent just knows that, but they just go for damage, and damage they do. Fortunately though, Rain does mitigate quite a bit. Especially because it crits. That rhymed, I didn't mean for that. But I do get my Electroshot. So now I'm +1. And I take out a Charizard. Because, well, Charizard also doesn't have any defenses. And it's weak. Now, personally, I don't really think it's 2 BM, considering I am on a rank ladder, so it's okay if I sweat a little bit. But I actually feel like you're still not going to go for Tailwind, and you're just going to try to Moonblast to get rid of my Chaladon just to get an extra point. I'm going to be a dick, and I'm going to protect and go for Hurricane. Just so that way I don't lose I don't win 2-0, I win 3-0. I don't have to lose an Archaladon for no reason. Hey, they could have forfeited, to be fair. But Whimsicott doesn't really stand a chance. Even if it has Sash, I broke it with Fake Out earlier, and it just dies. GG to my opponent. That is a win. That puts me at, I believe, a 2-win streak now. 5 wins altogether. And that battle also puts me into rank 2. Thing is, I do want to continue battling. I'm feeling good vibes right now. Ready to kick some more butt. And yeah, I just get kicked out because the date changed. It hasn't actually been 24 hours. In fact, it's still like 8 p.m. 8:03 p.m. What the hell? Fortunately, I can just boot the game back in and I'm back into the battles again. Battle up against somebody whose name I cannot pronounce. I won't even try it. I will be cancelled. Another Rain team. Without Pelipper, but with Politoed. The thing is, if they are going to be setting up Rain, I don't feel the necessity of bringing Pelipper here, so I think I'm still fine with Meganium because all your Pokemon are going to be weak to either Fairy or Grass, basically. And Instant, just because Fake Out is really nice. Archaladon if you're going to be setting up the Rain anyway, and there's not too much that you can do to Goodra. Like, actually. The only thing I have to worry about is Draco Meteor from Archaladon, and that's not that threatening, to be honest, because I have some pretty decent special defense. Unless they can start setting up, which is to be concerned about. Something to be concerned about, but I'm not that concerned. I kind of swap around my Pokemon a little bit. Decided to go for Whimsicott instead of Instant just because I think Tailwind is actually going to be nice, just because I do see their Whimsicott last second and I don't want them to just outspeed my entire team. Plus, I don't know exactly who all is going to have Swift Swim, or if they're just going to have adaptability, or what exactly this stupid fish is going to be going for. So yeah, I feel like also Encore might be kind of useful just in case that stupid Teapot wants to go for something annoying. Trick Room. I'm on a 2-win streak, they are on a 3-win streak. Time to break that win streak. Whimsicott and Starmie. Now, I know Starmie got a Mega Evolution, and I am concerned. I also know it gets ice coverage. So I feel like it's more of a necessity to protect than ever. Just to at least scout to see what it's going to do. And set up a Tailwind, just so I can try to outspeed it, because I know it outspeeds me no matter what it does. Unfortunately, I already know that Whimsicott's probably going to go for a Tailwind, so I'm already expecting to match Tailwinds here. But I feel like if it goes for like a setup move, I can try to Encore it, or I can Encore the Protect. That works too. And Whimsicott wins a Speed Tie. Because it's not a Speed Tie, I get priority over Moonblast. I don't know why they went for damage instead of setting up a Tailwind, but I am not complaining. In fact, I want to make sure that they can never go for a Tailwind. So I actually just decided to taunt them. I wasn't sure if I wanted to taunt them or Encore the Starmie, but I wanted to make sure that they don't get Tailwind out no matter what, so I do go for the taunt. I feel like I'm going to knock out Starmie anyway. I don't know if they realize that I can just Mega Evolve and go for Solar Beam and knock them out in one hit. Maybe they know. The thing is, I think that they probably do know because they do end up switching out. And they switch into a Pokemon that quad resists my Grass-type move. But it is worth mentioning that because I am Mega Evolving, I'm going from a, base 85, I think, special attack to a 143 special attack, so this Solar Beam is going to hurt even if you do quad resist. This is damage. Now, don't get me wrong, people can train up their special defense however they want to, but 25% is actually pretty damn solid. But it's also great. Moonblast does do quite a bit to my Pokemon. I also happen to know that if you happen to make Archaludon timid max speed, you will be outspeeding Meganium by 5 points. So I also know this because I happen to have a timid max speed Archaludon that just happens to outspeed by 5 points. So I want to try to keep my Pokemon safe from a Flash Cannon. I don't just want to die. I also want to see if I can do a little bit more damage to this Archaludon since it's going for stamina boost. They swap out to reset the taunt probably. Go into a Hospitality Teapot. And there's my Protect. And there's their Protect. So nothing happens except now they're at max HP. Oh, fine though, because I still feel like Sinistra can't really do too much here. So I do want to go for as much damage as I can just to both of these. And I know that I'm immune to Rage Powder, so I don't have to worry about Moonblast being redirected or anything. But at the same time, if they don't know that, and I can Encore them into that, that would be golden. But I also don't want them to set up a Trick Room, so I'm really conflicted here. I don't know what they are going to do with the Sinistra. They withdraw Archaludon and go into Whimsicott. I don't know if it's to sack it or what the point of that was, honestly. But I did double up into that spot. Trying to do as much damage as I could to Archaludon. Whimsicott does go down. Sinistra takes quite a bit to its HP. And it just goes for Matcha Gotcha. I resist that on both my Pokemon, even though it still does quite a bit of damage to both my Pokemon. It crits my Whim, of course it does. And they get quite a bit of their HP back as well. Thing is, if you just want to go for Matcha Gotcha, I want to make sure you're going to only go for Matcha Gotcha, and I want to Encore the crap out of that. And even if you do end up going for like a Protect or a Rage Powder, that's something I can Encore you into and lock you into. And I still feel like I want to go for a Dazzling Gleam on this Archaludon, just because I know it's going to be some decent damage. But at the same time, my Tailwind ran out. So that's something I still need to be concerned about. Does this Archaludon outspeed me? I don't know, so I Protect. And I feel like it's more imperative than ever to Tailwind, but I still go for the Encore. I feel like Meganium is more of the threat to my opponent, so I think that they're going to try to attack into the Protect. So there's my Protect. Unfortunately, my opponent is actually a lot smarter than I give him credit for. They do Rage Powder, so I do Encore into Rage Powder, which is fine. I have 2 Grass types on the field. They don't seem to know that I'm immune to Powder moves. I was Encoring that slot anyway, and they go for Flash Cannon into Whim. That's the smarter play. I no longer have access to Tailwind. So now I'm concerned. I do have an Archaludon on my own and a Goodra, but I don't just want to lose Meganium for no reason. Part of me considers just swapping out, because I feel like they're going to try to go for a Flash Cannon there. But just in case they want to go for a Draco Meteor, I go for Dazzling Gleam anyway. At the very least, I attempt to do some damage. If I do outspeed, then cool, I can get some chunk in before I actually go for an actual damaging move. Sinistra is locked onto Rage Powder, so that's also something I have to keep in mind. The thing is, I still consider going for Electroshot, even though I don't have Rain. They haven't shown that they have Rain either. They have a Starmie in the back, so I don't really know what to do here other than just try to go for some damage. There's their Rage Powder. My Flash Cannon. I'm just trying to knock out the Sinistra just to get it off the field. Don't quite manage that, sadly. I do a decent amount to Archaludon. And it does go for the Flash Cannon into Meganium, which does knock me out. So now I'm down 2-3. And they have passive recovery. So it's really trying to figure out who I want to attack and how important I need to make those attacks. If I just ignore this Archaludon for too long, it could try to go for boost. If it wants to go for Electro Shot, it's going to be getting recovery back. It has stamina. It's something I need to be concerned about. Sinister Slot, if it swaps out, it's swapping into a Pokemon that could be Mega Evolving, so I do want to also take it out just to get rid of it. It could also have Life Dew. Mine does. So I consider it more of a threat. Archaludon is something to be concerned about later. Sinistra is something to be concerned about now. Even though it's just going for Rage Powder. I don't remember how many turns Taunt has actually gone through. I think this is actually its last turn. So I don't want to give it a free turn afterwards. I do go for the special attack boost just to try to get that off. Unfortunately, Dragon Pulse does a little bit more than I was actually hoping for. I do get a free shelter, which is nice. So now I'm at +2. I think I actually matched their stamina, because I think their stamina up to +2 as well. Nothing I can really do with Archaludon but wait for Electro Shot to go through. I do outspeed their Archaludon, which is nice. So that will go off and take out Sinistra, and then I try to go for Body Press to see if I can damage Archaludon, because I assume it's going to go for a Dragon Pulse into my Archaludon. And if any of them switches, they're just switching into some significant damage. My opponent has to think on this one. My Quick Claw procs, but it doesn't really matter. I'm already the fastest thing on the field. And Rage Powder has priority anyway. Electro Shot connects, takes out the Sinistra. And sure enough, they go for the Dragon Pulse into my Archaludon. Does take out my Archaludon, so now it's my Goodra versus the world. And by the world, I mean there's an Archaludon that's now at 30%. After recovery, about 40-ish. And then there's also a Starmie, which hasn't really done anything but protect and then switch out. So I now just assume that that's going to be the Mega. The thing is, I think Starmie is a mixed attacker, and it has some pretty decent coverage, so it's like, I really don't know what it does. Well, I also know that I probably can't just take out Archaludon with another Body Press. It's probably going to live on low HP, so I feel like going for another Shelter is the best play. I'm solely relying on my high special defense, and I'm also assuming that Starmie is a special attacker, so I just am hoping for the best here. Fortunately for me, Archaludon protects for some reason. Maybe they thought I was going to knock him out with a Body Press. I actually didn't think I was going to do that much damage. And Starmie goes for Ice Spinner. That's a physical move. I already went for Shelter. If they had a special attack, I feel like they should have gone for it already. So I feel like I'm pretty safe here, actually. I don't outspeed either one of these, but I can take whatever they want to toss at me. So I'm already confident. I've already selected Body Press. That was the quickest down arrow I've ever pressed. At this point, I'm just waiting to see what they think that they can do here. Ice Spinner does literally nothing to me. I can take a Dragon Pulse pretty well. And then Body Press just takes you out. So if Starmie has any other move to go for, it should probably try to go for it, because I am pretty sure that Body Press just knocks you out. I'm pretty sure you're pretty damn frail. In fact, I don't even press the A button. I'm pretty sure they're going to forfeit here. Yep, okay. Well, that works for me, I guess. That's another win. I will take. I will not complain. Writing was kind of on the wall. I was out healing with Protect. their damage, so that was pretty given. And now I'm rank 1. On to the next fight. Give me the A button already. Battle against April? 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 I don't know. April. They have poison. They have steel. They have fire. They also probably have Ice Punch on that Palafin. Yeah, also with the flying coverage on Dragonite, I don't really think that this is a fight I want to bring Meganium. But what better way to showcase how good the team is just in general without having to bring the Pokemon that the team is actually built around. Team can actually do pretty well on its own. I don't need to bring Meganium. In fact, with that Sneasler, I really just cannot fathom bringing Meganium. That is the one thing I just cannot deal with. Even with Double Steel, because it's also fighting type, so it does have access to close combat, so it's still going to do some significant damage I don't want to be dealing with. But having Fake Out right off the bat is going to be probably pretty nice. Having Tailwind right off the bat is also pretty nice. The thing is, I want to mitigate the fire damage from Arcanine, if I can. So I do want to have Rain, but I also am a little bit wary because I don't want to just give free Rain to Palafin because I feel like that's just going to sweep. But having my Double Steel types in the back to be able to switch into Dire Claw if I need to, being able to try to resist the water damage if possible from Palafin because I am going to be giving it free Rain. Sure enough, they lead with Palafin and Sneasler. Yeah, okay, that was... Clearly, I was not meant to bring Meganium here. That's fine. Now, they can Fake Out. But I don't know if I'm that concerned, to be honest. If they do, then they just stop my Tailwind, but they're not going to knock me out with the Fake Out. Then I want to try to get rid of the Sneasler, so I go for Hurricane. They Fake Out the Bird. I would think that they would want to stop Tailwind, but sure. And then flip turn to switch into your other form. That's fine, I resist that. I have another turn with Whimsicott. They go for Tinkaton. Actually didn't know this Pokemon was in this game, to be fair. But I also know that it can't do too much damage-wise other than Gigaton Hammer. So I'm not that worried, to be honest. I do want to Weather Ball it just to get rid of it, just because it's there. And they Fake Out the Bird again! I'm just trying to land an attack with Pelipper, and they won't let me. I'm just there, flapping, existing. I do Encore their Fake Out, so they can't do anything. And I am more than happy to target the stupid hammer-carrying little fairy. This is what you get for bullying my bird. We respect birds here on this channel. And I really do want to get rid of this Sneasler because I feel like it's going to either switch out or just sit there to do nothing. So I do want to get the free damage. And yeah, I figured Palafin was probably going to be a switch in, so I didn't want to go for the Weather Ball. I wasn't expecting the double swap though. Because otherwise I would have continued trying to Weather Ball the stupid Tinkaton. And I regret not going for that, but it's fine. Getting some free damage on Palafin is always nice. And it's some pretty decent chup, too. The thing, though, is I was kind of hoping that Arcanine was going to be a physical attacker. In fact, it would have been nice if even you were a special attacker. Unfortunately, you're support. I wasn't counting on that. Helping Hand into Drain Punch, or Jet Punch, sorry, in the rain. I'm just not allowed to have Pelipper either. I should have just left Pelipper and Meganium behind, I guess. I don't know. Pelipper didn't do anything but take out half health of a fish. And it lives at 1. And I'm out of Tailwind. But the rain is still up for one more turn. My poor bird. I'm actually sad. Yo, leave a like on this video for Pelipper. It did not deserve that. I have to take advantage of the rain, no matter what. And I know that they're going to try to as well. I just don't know who they're going to go for. I have to set up Tailwind as well to get that back up. I need to be able to outspeed their Pokemon because I don't otherwise. Quick Claw is useful, but they are going for Jet Punch, which is priority. Helping Hand is also +6. So my Quick Claw is quite useless. In fact, I'm still going to be the last to act on the field because everybody's going for priority. My Tailwind outspeeds their Jet Punch because I have higher speed. They still take out my Whimsicott. Brother, I hate Palafin so much. 160 base attack. That Pokemon is stupid. Electro Shot on the 1 HP Pokemon. Mostly this was just to give me a free +1 in my special attack. I don't know why, I just felt like that was going to be a crit. But I did take out the Palafin. Fortunately, though, it's 2v3 now. But I don't think that their Pokemon in the back can really do too much against my Pokemon. The thing I'm concerned about is close combat from Sneasler. But you've already showed that you're a support Arcanine, so I'm not concerned about you. Tinkaton... Okay, it has Gigaton Hammer, but what else can it do? Play Rough, maybe? So it's slightly a threat? I don't see either one of these as threatening. I just... Thanks for the Quick Claw. I totally appreciate that. I get the fastest Protect in the West. Tinkaton goes for Fake Out. That was obvious. That's why I protected. Shelter is free. And I'm also concerned about a Will-O-Wisp or Flare Blitz, and sure enough, Will-O-Wisp. I wasn't expecting it into Archaladon, to be fair. But I feel like I can just Body Press this Arcanine and get rid of it. I also wanted to go for Draco Meteor, but I also didn't want to miss. And I didn't want Arcanine to somehow live Body Press somehow. It probably wouldn't, but I didn't want to take that risk, so I wanted to make sure I'm still tripping it. I know how RNG works, and this game is no different. I want to make sure I go for the 100 accurate move and chip first. I've already missed Draco Meteor on one fire type. That was annoying. I don't need to miss it on another one, thank you. And now I'm paralyzed. The thing is, you do get access to Prankster, but your Prankster moves aren't particularly great. Like, cool, you paralyze my Pokemon, so you can go for some hacks, but you don't really do much to my speed because Goodra was already the slowest thing on the field, and Sneasler is the fastest. So, with Prankster, you already outspeed, Sneasler already outspeeds. You're just trying to rely on hacks at this point. I'm actually feeling fairly confident here, because it's 2-2. Sneasler's a mild threat, but not much of one. You can't just take out my Archaladon, because I have Sturdy. You go for a Fake Out on Goodra for some reason. But I still have Flash Cannon. It's still +1. That's still damage. Archaladon's paralyzed too. Okay, well, this is why I'm ignoring the Tinkaton. What does it even do here? Goodra flinches, but Leftovers recovers all of the HP I lost. Tailwind Peters, but it doesn't really... Oh yeah, Tailwind was up, so I guess I was outspeeding. I guess the Thunder Wave was actually valid. Hell, I forgot about that even doing this post-commentary, and it still doesn't feel like that really mattered that much, to be honest. Most of his team was pretty slow, except for the Sneasler. I guess Arcanine has some speed. It was like base 90 or something. It's kind of sad when I consider anything that's less than base 100, just, it's slow. Archaladon was outspeeding a whole bunch of Pokemon earlier, and it's still only base 85. Close combat was the obvious combat. Gigaton Hammer is actually kind of laughable. I think I'm actually +4 defense here. Flash Cannon just easily takes out the Sneasler, and now it's just Tinkaton versus my two behemoths that it can't really touch. In fact, for some reason, they go for a protect, so I'm literally just out healing all of the Gigaton damage. In other words, I can be protecting myself as well, and be out healing anything that they want to do to me. They would have to solely rely on hacks, which, to their credit, they protect here. They do get hacks. I think our Chaladon Chaladon's paralyzed, so I can't attack into your protect. That's where all your hacks get you. And yep, leftovers recovers me back to full health. I have 2 Pokemon at full health against your Ticaton that can't do any damage. Would you please just accept defeat? They still haven't forfeited. What are they thinking about? They still haven't forfeited. They go for Gigaton Hammer into our Chaladon and still deal no damage. Flash Cannon does some pretty good chip. Almost half. Get the special defense drop. Unfortunately, Flash Cannon isn't that strong from Goodra, so it's not quite a knockout, but yeah, I just did 87% versus your 0%, basically. Yeah, that's what I thought. I do love the title, though, Palafin Admirer. Absolute respect. But that gets me into the Great Ball, rank 4. So I was still all of the Great Ball tier to have to go through. And as much as I do want to keep fighting, the game actually doesn't let me. Because the game's still new, I have to go through the whole game process. You know, there's a cutscene after you reach certain milestones. Don't want to spoil it for anybody, so I'll just cut it out. She does give me a title, though, so I am now a great trainer instead of full-fledged. But that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys do want to try the team out for yourself, here's the ID on screen. And the stats, in case you're interested in the spreads. But until next time, where I'm going to be probably working on some other Pokemon and build some teams around them. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, or even a dislike. I promise it doesn't hurt my feelings. And if you want to catch some more of these, hit the subscribe, get notified for future videos and live streams. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care!